Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Builders Call. It's the first Builders Call of August. No, it's not. It's the second Builders Call of August. My goodness, the month is flying by. Anyhow, this call happens the first and third Tuesdays of each month, and we have been interviewing people that have created and are creating great success in building organizations. And the reason is we all want to learn from each other, best practices on how to learn and grow. I was on a call this morning, Shelly Johnson, she and her husband. Craig have a great organization. I think they're close to 4 or 5 thousand agents. And so we were on a call this morning. She had me speaking to their organization. And it's just so cool to see how everyone comes from totally different backgrounds, different stories. Every single one of us has influence and the ability to move and influence people. And as such, the ability to grow and build organizations because people follow people. And so I'm super excited for our guest today. And the Thank you, first of all, Stephen, for being willing to be on the call today. I know that you are busy, stay busy, and run at a really high clip. And so anytime I can grab you off a stage or out from behind a camera that's recording you, I love the opportunity to do that and have you in our Zoom family room. So thank you for being willing to take your time today. For those of you that don't know Stephen, one of the things that I really respect about Stephen is, and I'll say this because I think you really get to know somebody when the rubber meets the road and when breakdowns happen, right? And some people are, some people, I'm like, no, none of us like going through breakdowns or having challenges or obstacles happen. However, when they do, from my perspective, it's always an opportunity for a relationship to deepen and go to the next level. And then when that happens, what we're able to collectively create and grow and how we're able to collectively create and grow goes to the next level as well. And so I have a lot of respect for Steven because he puts himself out there and he continues to put himself out there. And without regard to any cookie cutter way of this is how it has to be or this is how you have to do it, he's being 100% himself and authentic and true to who he is. And as a result, people can feel that. And so he's influenced people and continues to influence people. And in just a few short years, has been able to grow something really special here within our community at EXP. So I'm super grateful to get into the details of that. Stephen, welcome to the call today, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I don't get a chance to really talk about this too much. I feel like most agents just want to sell like 100 houses a year and they don't want to, you know. But yeah, I mean, I get excited on the topic. So yeah.
I love that. Well, here's what I'd love to do is we were having a conversation this morning earlier. I referenced the call that I was on, and we were talking about this concept or this idea of a vehicle, right? And in real estate, I see we have the vehicle of real estate, and the vehicle of real estate is what it is. And every agent that is an agent, most agents come to EXP. They're coming from companies to EXP. Some of them are brand new in the industry, and so are joining the company as new agents. But everybody, for the most part, comes from somewhere. And the call that I was on earlier this morning, what we were talking about is, when an agent's going through where they want to grow and thinking about where they want to grow and build their career, a lot of times I'll talk to people and they're like, well, I'm looking at Coldwell Banker, I'm looking at Keller Williams, I'm looking at Realty One, I'm looking at Real, I'm looking at like all these different options that there are in the marketplace. And so it can kind of get confusing, like, what am I looking at? And so, kind of to lay the foundation for this call and what makes it unique, we're going to talk about the power of the vehicle and that people, when they get their minds wrapped around it, it's like, okay. And so we talked about this idea of being at a racetrack and lining up at the starting point, and you're in your favorite sports car, which would be like, what's your favorite sports car, Steven? Or do you like sports cars?
Yeah, Audi R8. Probably
Okay. So
on the
you're in an Audi R8, what?
it's on the list.
Okay, cool. So you're in your Audi R8 and I'm on my 10-speed bike and we're lined up at the starting line, right? And I'm super fit. I mean, I'm deadlifting 195 pounds right now. True story. That was my deadlift for yesterday. And that was 4 working sets at 8 reps. I mean, I'm just getting strong, right? And so I am next to you on the racetrack. I'm on my 10-speed bike. You're in your Audi R8. The gun goes off. Like, you hit it, I hit it. And you know, there's just no way that I'm going to hit the end of the track before you, right? Because my vehicle's different. So, in conversation with agents, what they don't understand and they don't know until they do know, which part of what we do is help educate people, is that the vehicle of real estate in Coldwell Banker or Century 21 or Remax, or all the different options people have is like you can go pick any of them, but they're a 10-speed bike. They're just different colors and have different features to them. However, the vehicle is a 10-speed bike. And even in the cloud-based model, the vehicle is not the same as it is at EXP because it's a superior model. And we're not going to get into all the ways that the model's different in this call. However, that's what each of us have. So, what I would love to do to start the conversation today is where was Steven before EXP? And then what was your process? Because everybody needs to know someone's before story because those are the relatable stories that help us understand, like, oh, who we may be talking to that's not yet with us and what they may identify with at the point that they identify with it. So, Stephen, the before story, the backstory, what was that?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm in Fresno, California. Got my license, I think 2020, around COVID time. And I had a buddy who was here in my hometown with a local brokerage. It was a little boutique brokerage. Well, not little. I mean, about 70 agents. And he was my buddy. I was kind of like following his footsteps. Funny story. He used to work at a sewing machine repair shop, and then he became a realtor. And I started seeing the success, and I was like, if he can go from a sewing machine repair person to a successful realtor, then I could do the same thing, right? So like you said, stories. That was his story. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow in his footsteps. So he was with the brokerage, and so I wanted to be where he was. I told him, hey, I'm gonna be shadowing you. I'm gonna follow you. So it was a boutique brokerage here, local. And that's how it started. I followed him, learned everything. The broker was amazing. Um, and then about 2 years into real estate, a lot of learning about real estate in general, how to open a lockbox, write an offer, all that good stuff, and then just experimenting with social media. I started to gain traction on social, which caused a lot of people to reach out to me to join their team, right? So it was like Keller Williams, local brokerages, Real, actually several EXP. And at first, I was totally closed off. Like, no, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm totally happy. No, I'm not even looking. I have no want to even have a conversation with any of these people, right? And I say this a lot. It's like when you get your first car, since we're talking about cars, you get your first car. Who remembers their first car? Mine was like a little hoopty, right? But you love that car. You love it. It's your first car. It's your first love. Like you could be on the road next to like a $100,000 car. You don't even look that way just because you're so excited about. So that's how I felt being in my first brokerage. I was just so excited, and I would go in every day. I was shooting content. Everyone was so cool. So I wasn't even open to looking at these other brokerages, other options. And I tell people a lot, you don't know what you don't know, right? So you don't know what's out there. So for me, I thought this was the best thing ever. I guess I'll stop there because that's kind of where I end up making the move. But yeah, that's the backstory.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love that. So
yeah.
you said a couple of things that are really important. And for those of you that are writing it down, people follow people. People follow people. So you got in the industry and you were following a person. Like the brokerage that you chose to go to was because of the person that was there, because you wanted to be there. And so that's, point number one is people follow people. Point number two is that you're in the business now a couple of years, and because you're having visibility, because you started to do stuff on social media, now people are coming to you with opportunity, right? So visibility and opportunity go hand in hand. And the more visibility you have, generally, the more opportunities you have. So think about this I mean, these are really important principles. Like everything in business and life functions on foundational principles. So visibility and opportunity go hand in hand. And then the third thing that you mentioned is that you had now people coming that were wanting to, have you join them in business, and that you weren't open. So I think this is the third point that's really important is sometimes we're looking for people that are interested, and we're not looking for people that are interested. We're looking for people that are open. Because most of us, if just psychologically, if it's going to be like, well, are you interested in something? Well, tell me a little bit about it. And then you tell me a little bit about it, just enough for me to say no. And then we're done. Right. So, but you use the language that's so important is about being open. Right. So there's a point where you went from being not open to open. So talk about that and then what happened.
Yeah, being polite, just entertaining some conversations, not because everyone was trying to direct me to like a bigger conversation, like a Zoom or meeting someone or, you know, but just being polite and having those, conversations. I learned a couple things that kind of got my mind, going. So, for the first thing was a cap. My brokerage had no commission cap. And so once I started to learn, I was like, wait, then that kind of got the ball rolling. Like maybe there is, maybe I do need to, have some more conversation. And so, just getting people on that initial call, I think that's really important. But yeah, once I heard about a commission cap, that I was like, what else is there? What else is out there that I'm missing out on, right? Because I had gave my brokerage like over $30,000 of splits. So
You're so generous.
yeah, right.
Nice job. Okay, so you start to there's this idea that a mind once expanded never goes back to the original shape that it was in. So you're like, what, cap? I didn't know that was possible. And now you can't think about a person, you can't look at your business like somebody that doesn't know that that exists. So then what happened next?
Um, then I started jumping on more phone calls, doing my due diligence, right, and start learning more and more and more and more. And pretty soon I figured out that I was kind of limiting myself by being, at the local brokerage, right? I started learning so many other things, how brokerages were, global and how many agents. And then, obviously, they go over like the value and the programs and the trainings. And I was like, wow, I started learning about all these trainings. I was like, man, we have coffee and contracts once a month at my local brokerage, and I'm missing out on all these other trainings. And yeah, it was just like next level. And I think it was at that point that I figured out like that I needed to make the move, but it was just where, that I wanted to make the move. So but yeah, if I never had those conversations, I wouldn't still have been at my old brokerage, right? But I think it's being strategic to just get people on that call, right? To have to just kind of sometimes it's really hard because like I said, at first I wasn't open to any calls and no, no, no. But if you can just find a way to get them on the call, I'll tell the story. I talk a lot, especially about this subject, but so there was a guy one time he called me, cold called me. I thought it was hello. He said, "Hey, my name's so and so. Just wanted to see if you want to learn more about a 1031 exchange alternative that can help you and your clients." I was like, and I was at the time thinking about selling a property I had, and I was like, there's an alternative to a 1030. He kind of got me thinking, right? And I was like, oh wow. He's like, yeah, it's a quick call, 15 minutes at the max. And if you just, yeah, let me set it up for you. I was like, 15 minutes, why not? So he got me on the call, right? I get on this Zoom call, and the guy who called me, it wasn't even him. He just directed me to another guy, and he goes, hey, I want to introduce you to so and so. He's going to go over the alternative. And I was like, well, I mean, I felt kind of like, finessed in a way, right? But he got me on the call, right? And that was creative how he did it. And, I listened, right, for 15 minutes, right? So I think just, since we're just starting in the whole attraction part of the call, it's just finding a way to get them on a call to be open to just hearing a little bit, right? So I think that's the hardest part because once you get them on a call, get an agent on the call, and they start to hear about what's out there, it's like game over. Like once because boutique brokerages and they can't compare to like big, like EXP brokers, right? It's not even you put them side by side and there's no comparison, right? So once you get them on a call, and I'll go over some ways that I figured out how to get people on calls, but I think that's important. Just finding a way to get them on those phone calls.
It's so true. So, and one of the things that I think is really key is what you mentioned is it was short. It was 15 minutes. So we, in the think about it, like if somebody, I always say it's like I would sooner give someone money than I would give them my time. Like if someone called and said, "Hey, I'm doing XYZ for this cause. I'm committed to raising this much for this cause. Will you, participate with me and do it?" I'm like on and off the phone in 60 seconds. Yeah, like send me the link or what do you need and I'll give it to you right now. But if someone called and was like, "Hey, I need an hour." I'm like, for what?" Right? So it's just like it's easier to get someone's money sometimes than it is to get their time. So the small ask is really important. In you bringing that out, it's just and clearly you had multiple conversations that were layered over time to where as you got to see more and more and more and more, now all of a sudden you have FOMO. You're like, whoa, I'm missing out because of this and this and this and this that you got to see the curtain pulled back, little by little, conversation by conversation over a period of time. So I like to like we think like, oh, well, I'm going to go like recruit an agent. No, you're not. An agent's not going to do anything they don't want to do until they want to do it. They're going to recruit themselves. It's just, are you going to be the person that walks them through the process that pulls back the curtain and is that person that's giving them these experiences? So,
And
um, go ahead. Yeah.
so, like I said, I've told agents like get creative, right? Say, hey, I want to, I'll give you a coffee gift card if you can just jump on this Zoom for 15 minutes or 10 minutes, right? Like give them something, and get creative to get them, because that's the thing is to get them on the call. Most people are totally against it. If you're with EXP, they think automatically like, oh, he's a recruiter, right? So they're just totally like blocking you out. But like, if you can find a creative way to get them on a call, that's big, right?
Yeah. Cool. So you come over 2 years into your career. And did you know that you wanted to build something right out of the gate? Or were you like, I'm just going to come here and grow my production? Like, where was your mind in the beginning?
Um, Good question. 100% had no intention of growing in that way. It was all production. I came over 100% production. Like I said, I was more interested in like the trainings, the community, things like that. And I think that's how most people are, right? They're not really interested. That's why I'm like I get excited when I hear others want to learn about this topic, right? Because most people don't. They just want to sell homes forever, right? And I think there's more out there than that. And then also, I tell people a lot. It's like you go out, you purchase everything comes down to vehicles, right? Because I like vehicles, so I compare it to vehicles a lot. So you go out, you buy a nice car, and you pay extra for like, you get the car and it comes with a weather package, right? So it has like heating and air conditioned seats. Okay. And winter comes, summer comes, and you never use it, but it's there, but people just don't even use it sometimes, right? It just not used to it or like it feels, whatever. It's a little different. Same thing with attraction, right? Building an organization, like it's there and everyone has the option to do it, but just nobody really cares or they just overlook it and but it's there right in front of you, right? But you just don't use it. So
Yeah. So something changed for you, right? I think that's an important thing, right? Is that for most agents, like they're looking to work at the where they can grow their business. That may be how they come in. And then something changed along the line clearly because you don't accidentally go from I'm coming here to grow my production and end up with an organization like the one that you have that literally is, a few hundred agents approaching 400, right? So talk about like what was it that transitioned in that transition, and then what did you start doing and how are you doing it like at the beginning?
Yeah, I think you don't really understand it fully or believe that it's real until you see it, right? So, in the beginning, I was going to events everywhere, out of city, out of my area. I was going to events, networking, and I think attracting is real similar to your real estate activities, right? You're networking, you're building relationships, you're following up. It's pretty similar to that. But it all happened naturally. I had a couple agents just meeting them at events, and I would just introduce them, and they were like, "Oh, who are you with?" And "Oh, and I'm not happy," and it would just happen naturally. And then I got a couple agents that join the community, and then you get the app, right? And then you check the app, and when you start to see it, that's where it's like the light switch comes on, right? So I would encourage everyone on this call, if you don't have an agent or two, that should be the first goal, right? Is just to get an agent so you can see how it works. And once you get a taste of it, once I seen it, I was like, wow, right? Once it paid like my car payment, I was like, wow, wow, I'm a car payment. And then it's the next step and the next step. But the one key thing for me that was really game changer was when I spent the night at my mentor Leo Robles' house. Um, and I seen, okay, let me backtrack. So I have friends that owned like 50 Airbnbs, rentals, business owners, and they are so stressed out. So stressed out. I mean, they're getting sued. There's so much going on and they're getting pulled left and right. And then I spent the night at Leo Robles' house.
This is raw.
And then, it was in the morning. He's like, "Hey, you want coffee? I got to go walk my dog." It was so peaceful, right? And I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, yeah, no, let's do this. Let's grab breakfast. I have to start my calls at 11." And I just seen the lifestyle and that he was living. And I was like, that's my goal, right? That's what I want. I don't want to be running around, you know, doing all these other activities and getting sued for having, Airbnb issues and stuff. And so that's another reason, right, that I kind of switched is when I seen it, and then when I seen the goal of the lifestyle that I wanted, right?
I love that. So you brought out one really important point that not many people talk about ever, and that is the value of having your first couple of agents so that you can see that it's real, right? So when someone's coming over, like it is, what if, like Brad's in the process of making a transition, and Brad, who do you love working with? Who do you want to grow with? And Brad has a friend or two that are colleagues in the industry, and they all come together. Now on Brad's day one, immediately he is going to have a taste, right? And so there's that time frame of, and what you mentioned is so important is like it's real. I think
Yo,
it's real, but is it real for
can you
me?
hear me?
Could it be, could it be something for me? Right. And so that value of early on having a taste of what that looks like. And so how do you be strategic and get people thinking in that way of like, oh, well, you're making a change. Who of your friends might be looking to make a change with you, right? So you've immediately got something that's growing, and now you've got belief, and now that gets upgraded to the next level. You go to Leo's house and you're like, wait a minute, this is not like the typical experience. So now you taste a lifestyle difference in how a business can look like. And so now we can't unsee that because, Leo's out walking the dog and having coffee and starting the day in peace versus a flurry of pandemonium, right? So you do like you're in the early days growing and building, and what are the actual activities that you're doing? I know Leo, because Leo does, there's nobody that works harder than Leo. I've seen his calendar like back to back to back to back to back, but he's got his morning routine is important. He's got standards.
Yeah, I know his routine. I'm like, "Hey, it's 8 o'clock. You're at the gym." He's like, "I'm walking in." Like, you're getting a haircut. Like, he's so like, yeah.
His weekly haircut. Yeah, I mean, like Leo is like success leaves clues and it's in the calendar.
Yeah. I think it's important. in the beginning to let it happen naturally, kind of in the beginning, right? If you make the move, obviously people are going to reach out. They're gonna be curious because that's what it was for me. So I could learn the process. I could learn like how it works. In our community, Leo would help me with the calls and stuff. So I would learn that. I would be in the calls, learning, the right questions to ask, right? And being on those calls, I would learn a lot. So in the beginning, it like I said, it happened naturally. I didn't come over saying like, oh, I'm gonna reach out to a bunch of people, and I think that was important just to building their relationships in the beginning, right? Until you learn how it works and you learn because in the beginning you don't even know like that much about the company. They're like, oh, what's the splits or how does levels what's the levels and this and that and you don't know the answers, so it's like you need to kind of listen in and kind of learn the basics first before you can be more like aggressive, I guess would be the
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I love that time of not knowing anything. It's like there was a mentor of mine once said to me, the more you know, the slower you go because you overthink things. And then it's like, well, do I do this or do I do that? And in the beginning, you're like, I don't know anything. Just talk to Leo. Like, like come to this, come to that,
yeah
right?
that's
You keep it so simple and it works,
That's
right?
actually better. Yeah, than yeah, because now I would tell people, and we'll probably get into this more, but if they ask you a question, you say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to answer that question. Let me introduce you to Leo. He has all the answers." Right?
Yeah.
You're not trying to answer those questions. I think that's where people go wrong is they're trying to answer all the questions. And that's not, especially in the beginning, you'll probably sound like an idiot because you don't know, you're like, what did you just say? That doesn't make sense because you don't know all the answers in the beginning, right? Leo, he's been in the game 8 years with the company. He knows everything, inside and out. So he's the one, and I'm sure we're going to get into it, but I don't want to miss it. Third party validation. I learned that from you, by the way. Yeah, you don't want to be the one. You want to have it, go through someone else when it's comes to attraction.
Yeah. You mentioned that in your language with everything that you're saying, you've used the word community so many different times, right? And I think that that is this one of the strengths of what we do is like being an agent can be like being on an island sometimes. It can be a lonely place, right? Because you're in business, essentially for yourself. You may be in a market, where you're in competition for the same business of the people in your office, going on the same listing appointments or whatever, and there can be an absence of community. And so, this hits on that. Okay, what else do you want to share before we go into the breakdown? Because everybody goes into a major breakdown at some point, and these become the critical defining moments. So I want to talk like, it's always great to talk about someone else's breakdown. It's not as fun to be in your own, right? But
Mm-hmm.
before we move to that phase of your journey and your story, what else would you share?
Just to share on how, like you said, community, and when I'm talking to agents, that's what I'm talking about. When I do, and I don't want to overlook this, is when I reach out to people. In the beginning, I didn't, right? Excuse me. Now I will. And when I reach out, I say, hey, we have this community. Let's partner up. It's not like, hey, switch your brokerage and join our brokerage and EXP. I think I learned this from you as well. Like, I think you said that, don't throw up EXP on someone, right? That's definitely not what you don't want to do. But two things that I always focus on are partnering up and community. Because when you say that, there's nothing negative they can say about it, right? Collaboration. People love to hear those partnering up, community, and collaborate. If you're talking about those three things, like what can they say, right? They can't say anything bad, and that's what really gets them interested. And so I focus on talking about those three items when I'm on a call or reaching out to agents. Yeah.
Yeah, so words have power, and so think about the language that you're using, let's partner up. That language is so powerful because it is me and you together, let's partner up. And that is a going and walking with someone versus, hey, I think this would be good for you, or it's so cool over here, or whatever. Like, let's partner up. It's so simple and so powerful. Yes, he is a master, Leo.
So, so I do want to bring up a point. So, okay, going back to okay, I made the move. I started going to events, building relationships. Had a few people come on just because they met everyone that I was in partnership with, and they liked it, and they felt comfortable, so they joined. That's when I said, okay, hey, my car payment got paid. I see this now. I have the app. I see how it works. I want to do this. I seen Leo's lifestyle. Okay, now I want to reach out, right? And now I'm going to be strategic. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to send these messages out. And I actually, for the people on the call, cold turkey stopped production at that point. I
What
said,
year
hey,
is this?
that was probably like 2.5. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably like 6 months after I joined EXP. Once
Okay.
I had a couple agents, once I seen Leo's amazing lifestyle and stress, no stress and all. I mean, he has stress, but yeah, 6 months being into EXP, that's when I said, you know what? I had deals going. I said, hey, once these deals close, that's it. Like it's go time. Like, and people, it's kind of like when you're going into real estate and you have that other part-time job and you're kind of juggling both and this and that, but you're never really going to really succeed at real estate while you're hanging on to that other job, right? I'm not telling people to stop production, but it's what I did, and I just cold turkey stopped and I said, look, now it's go time. So now I had to actually intentionally reach out to agents, okay? Big point here. In my notes, I had Leo's calendar, and I also had my text that I was going to be reaching out, either text or DM, right? And it kept switching as time went on, right? The first one, I still have them, guys, and I look sometimes, and I'm like, so it's so cringy. Hi, my name is Steven Diaz with eXp Realty. We have so many trainings. It's this and that, and it's so long and it's cringy. And even though at the time I had a little influence, people would leave me on red. They wouldn't even respond because it was so cringy. And every time I kept changing it, the wording would get different and would get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. To now, I found out what worked for me, right? It might not work for you guys, but you need to figure out what works for you and the agents that you know. It got really small to the point where it's like, hey, let's talk about partnering up sometime. Let me know when you have a quick call. That's what worked. It wasn't the explaining all the value and this and that and this, none of that. It was the smallest, just basic DM that worked the best for me. So yeah, that's a big point right there. And I still have the other ones to look at, and it's cringy when I read them.
I love that. Um, and so there's this principle about creating curiosity, which creates pull energy versus throwing up on someone, which pushes them away, right? And I love your language. Again, it's simple, it's to the point, and it creates a pull. Like you're not saying partnering up about what, you're not pushing them into like a time. It's just this open-ended, like it's an invitation that's like partnering up. And so now a great invite goes from creating curiosity to getting an appointment, which clearly you have, or response. So, did you see the red start to turn green?
Oh, 100%. It was day and night difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So you now are in the process. You're building. You're growing. And what year was it that you hit right around 100 agents?
Um, Probably it was a 3.5, probably. Yeah, because 2.5, I got kind of focused, and then I think about a year it took me to get it like 100 agents.
Okay. And then you had something happen that if someone on the call hasn't had happen yet, that has an organization, they will have happen at some point. So it's why I like to talk about it because if you look out into the landscape of what it means to be human, right? Like 50% of people don't stay married. So why would you have an expectation that someone's going to stay doing a business or in real estate or even in your organization? Like, and there never be any people that come and go, right? And so we don't like to think about those things because it's like, well, what could be better than here? And why do people do what they do? A mentor of mine's like, I wouldn't take that class. I don't know, and you want to focus on that, you'll be the next one. Like, focus on where you're going and what you're growing, right? And so there was a point in time in your journey where you didn't have like one or two people, you had a significant amount of attrition, and it was kind of like that fork in the road of like, ah. So I remember you, and it was on a Sunday. You and Leo and I were on a call together. But talk about that process because it was new. It's not something you'd ever experienced. Like, what's going through your mind? What were you feeling? Like, where were you at versus where you want to be? I mean, you literally what we call burn the boats and went all in on like, okay, I'm going to focus on growing and building and let the deals that are happening happen. But my focus is on building now. I'm not on the focus of production. And then that happens. Like, talk about that.
Yeah, it was a crazy point in time for sure. A new brokerage came out and they're promising the world and saying that they're going to be the next big thing. That's super common now, right? Every brokerage that's starting is cloud based pretty much. From here on. And my actually it wasn't my downline, it was my upline that had brought me to the company, decided to go with this new company and gamble on their business, hoping that it would be the next EXP. And my thinking was at the time, like, I used this. I even told Leo Pareja this comparison. I was like, okay, Apple iPhone. It's been around for like I don't know how many years, 20 years, right? I remember the first iPhone, and they're so established. They built up their brand. For me, the reason I have it is I don't really have any issues with it. It's just reliable. It's there, right? That's EXP, right? They've been around. They were the first one. And now to think that if a new phone came out tomorrow, instead of the Apple phone, it was an orange phone, to think that that's going to wipe out the Apple phone, it just makes no sense to me, right? So for them, I don't know, they were offered some crazy deal or whatever, so they left. And I mean, yeah, it was shocking, right? Um, for the good part was the agents that I had brought on, they were there for me, and they weren't looking to gamble with their business, right? So if anything, at that point, I didn't do trainings, I didn't do coaching calls, I didn't do branding, social media. At that point, it actually made me stronger because now I had to step up, and now I have to take their spot, and I have to be there for the agents, right? So yeah, a lot of the agents that I had brought to the company did not leave. But it definitely made me stronger, and it was tough. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Leo and I were talking every like 5-10 minutes. Definitely tough, but like I said, it made me stronger, and yeah, now things are better than ever. So everything happens for a reason.
Yeah. So we go back into that moment in time. It's like it wasn't just that they were making a different choice. They were attempting to take an organization that was also part of your organization with them and essentially like take people, right? That you had brought and worked and were growing and building with.
Yeah,
And so that there's an emotional component to that is not easy, that can be really challenging. And then when people bite on whatever they bite on, a sizzle of oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be that. And then people are going to decide what they're going to decide. And then you kind of look and you're like, okay, now who's left? Who's left standing? We had that conversation, you and Leo and I, that Sunday. It was like, it's decision time. It's like if you're gonna get in, you're in. And now what's the next level of in? And at that time it was like, okay, so what is the next benchmark for you that changes the game? Like, and so we talked about that next threshold, and you're like at 200 agents, like that's, that's it, right? And so I think there's such great things from your story, right? So Leo's your mentor. He's in the trenches with you every day. He's there for you in the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and he's like in working with you every day. And he's like, double down, let's go, let's grow, right? And you're like, okay. So when you look around, it's not a question of am I, who am I doing this with? It's like, oh no, he's here, right? And then who's left is who's meant to stay. And now how do we grow to that next thing? That's a pivotal moment where the majority of people would not have chosen what you chose, which was to dig in and go, right? Because a lot of people don't recover when they get kicked in the gut, so to speak, emotionally like that, particularly when it's like, hey, I'm all in on this deal and this is how I'm feeding my family and keeping a roof over my head, right? And so it seems like no short, like it was like a blink, and it wasn't a blink, obviously, I'm sure, because in the day to day, it's like it always feels like it's taking so much longer than we want it to take. But it's like, oh, and then there was 150, then there was 100 again, and then there was 150, and then there was 200, and then there was three, and now like we keep going and growing, right? And so you look back on that and go, wow. But the most valuable thing in that, from my perspective, is the leader that you continue to become because you let yourself go through what I call is the refiner's fire and leaned into the fire instead of running from the fire. And so I want to acknowledge you for that because it's a super inspiring to me. You're inspiring to me for that.
Thank you, thank you. I think a big part of it was the fact that the agents realized that those leaders that left were making a decision for themselves, for their benefit, rather than for the agents. They never asked the agents, "Hey, what do you guys think?" It's like, "Hey, we're moving, come with us." And then for me, I reached out and said, "Hey, what do you think? You know, what do you think? You guys, what do you think?" And they said, "No, we don't. We're happy here." So, you know, being for the agents, right? And they see that, and that's important.
Yeah. So we had a question in the chat, which is when you go from that invite of, hey, like about exploring partnering up, what does the next conversation look like?
So okay, here in the beginning, I would have a phone call, and I talk way too much, and I would don't do this, guys. I would just talk, tell my story and all, and then I was pretty much doing the first message that I used to do in a call now, right? So I'm having this long conversation. I'm over like I tell people I can't go door knocking because I'm like 20 minutes at each house and I don't even make it around the block and I'm done. It's dark already. So yeah, it was bad. So then I skipped that, kept it short, and I skipped a call and went straight to a Zoom with Leo. Skip everything, just like that guy got me for the 1031 exchange alternative, got me on the call with his person. I need to get people on the call with Leo because Leo has all the answers. I don't, right? And I know Leo says this a lot to me now. And as you go, things start to click, right? There's an attractor and there's a recruiter, right? So the attractor gets them to the call and the recruiter handles it from there. You're not both, right? So don't try to be the attractor and the recruiter, or I don't know what the second one is called because I'm getting there, but I'm not that yet, right? So you want to just get them on the call. So not a phone call. I would get them onto a Zoom, and just like I was surprised, like, wait, I talked to you. Who's this guy? They're a little surprised, right? Like, hey, I'm like, hey, thanks for getting on the call. You're probably wondering who this handsome man is. That's Leo Robles. And, because of Leo, I've had a lot of success and he's a big part of support and he's helped me build. And I want to introduce you. And then, boom, Leo takes over. I pretty much don't say anything from there. But I use the same strategy that guy used on me and skip all the, back and forth and get them on a call, right? It's kind of like real estate. When you get a lead or from social, you want to get the goal is to get them on the one-on-one. So that was, yeah, if that helps.
Yeah, it's amazing. And when you're in real estate, like on the sales side of things, like you're kind of left on your own to figure it out. And the beautiful thing about building an organization is you're not on your own at all to figure it out. It's like if you get really good at that one thing, which you've gotten really good at that one thing, which is to be the attractor of like, hey, let's explore what it would look like to partner together and get them on the call. Then the rest of the system takes care of itself. And so there's like two components that I think people miss a lot. And number one is all the things that you've learned, Stephen, as a result of listening to Leo, right? So it builds your confidence as you're hearing it and you're seeing it. And now you're essentially in the process of learning by having your organization grow while you learn because Leo's talking to your people, right? So you're learning everything that you need to learn to be able to support your people moving forward in the same way by being the student in that listening context, right? In that conversation. But at the same time, it's like Leo is amazing because he's got so much confidence and posture from experience of doing this for how long he's done it. And anyone that is on this call that's going to choose to work with somebody that is a senior partner of theirs has got the same stuff. Like, you want me to do a call with you? I'm happy to do a call with you, right? It's like, it doesn't matter who you put me in front of. I know that we've got the goods, and it's just a matter of helping that person get the pieces connected to see how we've got the goods and they are definitely missing out, right? And nobody likes a little good case of FOMO. So what I love, Stephen, is that as you've grown to literally hundreds of agents, you haven't forgotten the principles of what's important is to act like the new one that is utilizing the attraction piece and the community piece, and it's the magic of it. No matter if you have no agents in your organization, 100 or 300 or 500 or 3,000, right? The same stuff works because it's about the new person and the lens they're seeing things through coming in, not about the seasoned person down the road. And through, right? And even in the agents that were being pitched to leave the organization, it wasn't a value to them. It was to go with the people they were about, right? So in this instance, like we're making about the what's the good for that person. Well, we don't know what's good for that person until we talk to them, and we don't do that until we get them into a conversation. And so we get them to the conversations with the people that navigate those conversations, and that's how we learn. So I
Yeah.
love that. An eternal
Uh,
student.
a big thing that I learned is when you think of if you're trying to talk to an agent, right, to come over to EXP and switch brokerages, your first, yeah, response is telling them all the great things about EXP, right? That's your first thing that you want, your first instinct, right, is to do that. But what I started to learn on these calls with Leo, he starts out by asking them about themselves and like what would they need in their business. It's about them, right? You're not even supposed to be talking. That comes later, right? That comes at the end, and that's like the icing on the cake. In the beginning, you want to see their pain points, what they're struggling with, what they need in their business, and their story. You want to just build the connection and the relationship first. So that's super important. You don't just start with, can you imagine you don't even know anything about them, if they have kids or how long they've been a realtor and this and that, and you're just boom, just throwing all this information that's the wrong thing to do. But a lot of people try to do that.
Yeah, through sheer force. Doesn't work
Yeah,
so well.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So for the stage that you're at now, talk about where you see things moving forward based on everything that you've learned up until today. Because we're looking at 4 years, right?
Yeah.
4 years.
No, oh yeah, 4 years with yeah,
4 years
going
with
on.
EXP, 6 years going into
Yeah,
seven
yeah,
with
yeah.
real estate. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what I will say a couple things is once you hit like 50 agents or so, that's like the sweet spot. It starts to have like the snowball effect. And that's where people join and you don't even know because someone brought them on through someone and they're in a different city and that. But one thing that I will say that's changed, right, as you go through this journey, it changes. It's not always the same. In the beginning, you're just bringing on, people naturally, and then you're more reaching out, and then, well, at this point, once you get, hundreds of agents, you're building leaders now, right? I had someone reach out to me and they said, "Hey, would you like to co-sponsor in Fresno? I know you're in Fresno. I'm in North Carolina or something like that." And I said, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." And then I said, "Wait, actually, I'm gonna put them under someone else." And then she goes, "What? Why would you do that?" I said, "Because I build other people, not myself. I only have like 30 people on my first level. And to me, I mean, this is just my experience, is that that's building something stronger. And she said, "Oh, wow." She was shocked. And she's with the XP, right? And she said, "I have 100 people on my first level." And so she was building herself. And then as we talked more, she said, "I'm getting calls every day from these agents. I need this. I need this. Can you help me with this and that?" Because she wasn't building out other people, she was building herself only. So I learned now, yeah, it might be a little lower on the rev share. Cool. But I'm building something stronger that will last longer, and I'm helping other people build in different areas. So as time went on, that my vision changed, right? So now I'm helping build leaders. Leo told me this one time: you need to find the next Steven Diaz, right? You need to find the next Leo Robles. You need to find the next Casey that's going to build, and or else you don't have any leaders. It's not gonna. You need those strong pillars, right? So that's my focus now.
I
Different.
love that. So there is that's a progression, right? It is the production. How do I grow my production? I do that in the community. Oh, I've got some leverage. If I help grow my own community and I bring people into the community, EXP is going to reward me for that. And then like, oh, okay, now I'm going to burn the boats, go all in, and building communities, and then now leaders of leaders, right? So
Yeah.
I have no doubt that we'll add a zero at the end of your numbers. Uh,
Yeah, Scott, Scott right here is on fire. He's in the call, man. He's a leader, and my goal is to build Scott. If he wins, I win, and we all win. And guys, like, man, I wish there was more people on the call. I wish more people were curious, right? But do not sleep on this opportunity. It's big. It went from paying my car, and then it paid my house, and now it pays. I have all my bills covered, and I'm able to do what I enjoy doing and help others, right? So don't sleep on the opportunity. Super big. You're in the right place. Another thing is like I have these little comparisons. It's kind of like say you were a car salesman, but you worked for Mitsubishi. If anyone has a Mitsubishi, I'm sorry. But you're a car salesman, you work for Mitsubishi. So your goal is to sell Mitsubishi. People come in, you're going to be like, this is the best car ever. But in your mind, it's really not, right? It's not that reliable. I don't even know if they're still around, right? But with EXP, I'm confident that that's the best, vehicle, right? To take your business to the next level. I mean, the facts are there. If anyone has questions, Leo has all those answers, right? He does it. He explains that regularly. But you don't. You're in the right vehicle, right? So it's so easy. You're not having to pretend like, oh, this is the best, brokerage and this and that. I mean, it just speaks for itself. So that's one good thing, is that you're helping others because you're in the right place. So you're helping others find the right place as well.
I love that. And Stephen, how old are you? If you don't want to give me an exact number, you can give me I'm between this and this.
Like 40-ish, yeah.
Okay, I'm in 40-ish.
Just
So,
rapping realtors never say their age.
okay, but here's what I want to point out is that in 6 years, what you created, right? As a brand new agent in the marketplace, getting your feet wet and doing real estate for your first couple of years, that you probably weren't in your 40s, you were in your 30s. I'm pretty confident for that. And then that one decision and one pivot it executed over the course of like 4 years, like you've changed your life in four
Hmm.
years of
Yeah.
of consistency and focus, and you're helping other people do the same thing. And so, a lot of times when we look at goals and we'll hear people talk about like, they're looking out at their lifetime over being like, oh, one day to maybe be positions like your position, but they don't see themselves in that sometimes even being possible for like years and years and years and years. Like that would take me 10 or 15 or 20 years from now. Hopefully I'll be able to da 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 da. But you're
Hmm.
such a great example because in essentially what's really, we'll call it 4 short years, been able to do something phenomenal for you to live the life you want to live that's about helping other people. And because the more people you help, the bigger the life that you're able to live because of the vehicle that EXP gives us and how that performs. So I'm super inspired by you. Keep up the great work and never underestimate what's possible. I love how relatable you are. I love how simple you keep things, and I love that even at this state where it's like, okay, now you're living the life you want to live, you could go disappear and live it, but you've got a hand out going, hey, if you want to explore what it would look like to partner, let's chat when you're available, right? In your
Simple.
language, that's mine, right?
It's super simple, and my goal is to help you on the call to not make those early mistakes because that'll save you time, right? So not having those long messages and being real recruiting and trying to close people yourself and doing all that. If you're doing that, if you stop doing that, it'll be faster for you, right? It'll take time away from that. So
Well, super
yeah,
appreciate you. We've got this on the recording. It will go out to everyone. It'll be up on the YouTube site and on the website, and very valuable nuggets. Thanks for being willing to share for the benefit of all. And let's add a zero to that number.
let's go.
All right. Make it a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.